that our moon is most likely a hollowed-out structure and an artificial satellite that was intentionally placed into Earth's orbit only a few 100,000 years ago, and that the advanced engineers accomplished this intending not only to influence the Earth's biology, but to oversee and control her inhabitants. The moon seems as natural as the landscape around us. But when you look at all the freakish facts, you'd see what one NASA researcher, Robin Brett, saw. He said, "It seems easier to explain the non-existence of the moon than it does to explain its existence." So then, why is that? For starters, no one can explain why the moon is older than the Earth, and older by millions of years. None of the collision with Earth theories make even a shred of sense. Secondly, if the moon were proportional to the planet it orbits, as other natural satellites are, it would only be 30 miles across. Instead, it's not double, not triple, but over 72 times larger, at 2,160 miles across. No other known natural satellites are a quarter of the size of the planet that they orbit. Then there are the craters. The varying diameters of the craters reveal impacts of varying size and force. They should have created a variety of depth, but instead, the craters all have the same depth. And when astronauts attempted to drill into the craters, they were barely able to penetrate the surface. They also discovered processed metals like brass, mica, and pure titanium, which are not naturally occurring elements. They are created and used for architectural design. Where it really gets strange, though, is when you examine the mathematical and geometrical relationship between the Sun, Moon, and Earth, which are so freakishly precise they defy all odds of randomness, with nothing like it in any other known planetary system. For example, the Sun is exactly 400 times bigger than the Moon, and it's almost 400 times the distance away. But that's just the beginning. There are the coincidences around the numbers 366, for the numbers 1092, and then the numbers 273. If you calculate the likelihood of this kind of precision in a random creation, the number would be so small it wouldn't fit on the screen. One of the strangest things about the moon is something that we don't even give a second thought, something called tidal lock. Frankly, the scientific definition makes it sound very natural. Tidal lock is simply that the moon's rotation exactly matches its orbit. In short, this means against all natural laws, the same side of the moon always faces the planet, and we're prevented from ever seeing the back half of our moon, also known as the dark side of the moon. Explore the universe. With very few exceptions, everything spins, including Earth, whose rotation should be throwing the moon into a furious counterspin. Instead, somehow, our moon is literally like an all-watching eye that never ceases surveillance of the planet to which it's bound. Another fact. Every astronomer knows it's a 1 in a trillion chance that a planet's moon would appear exactly the same size as its sun during an eclipse. And, by the way, if you view a full eclipse from space, you'll see this. Look familiar? Then, there's the fact that natural satellites circle their planets around the equator. So why does our moon circle Earth at a tendency of 5 degrees? The exact distance, elevation, elliptical course, and speed that enable it to transform life on Earth by creating tidal flow and seasons. All the benefit to life here for sure. So, older, bigger, and lighter in mass than it should be, according to the laws of physics, our moon shouldn't even be here. We know that without the moon, the Earth's orbital revolution would change. It's said that we'd have an unsteady gravitational pull, which would make the planet wobble. So if it's not a complete anomaly of random luck, how did the moon get here? Could it have been put there? To find out, we need to know the truth about our history. And not surprisingly, the ancients may have given us the answer. While you probably didn't get much education about this, a multitude of cultures the world over refer to what is called the time before the moon. The list of those who have written about this begins with many well-known ancient Greek writers and philosophers, including Aristotle and Plutarch. There's even reference to the time when there was no moon before the cataclysm, and certain inhabitants were known as Prosellenes, which means those that were before the moon. But this expression was used elsewhere. The Columbian legends say, in the earliest times when the moon was not yet in the heavens. In Africa, the Zulu tribe tells the legend that the moon is an egg with its yolk removed, brought here from far away by non-terrestrial dragons who placed it into orbit. Their legend says the earth turned over when it was brought here, causing cataclysms and a great flood, nearly wiping out humanity. Could this legend coincide with our current understanding of history, when humanity's population bottlenecked, reducing all races to a single ancestor that geneticists call mitochondrial Eve, somewhere between 150 to 200,000 years ago? Could ancient Earth have experienced these cataclysms as a result of the arrival of this unnatural satellite? Would this explain why so many cultures, without any connection to each other, share the same story about our cosmic neighbor? The idea the moon was brought here seems like a stretch. We simply cannot fathom how. But let's imagine for a moment that the inconceivable is true, and that our seemingly natural moon was, in fact, brought here